all for coming tonight. I know it looks like we're going to be in the middle of storms and all of that stuff, so I'm glad you all made it here without getting wet. This is a very, very important clinic because after tonight you will know everything you need to know about how to run a marathon. You'll just have to get out there and actually run it. Which is, you know, after 22 weeks it could be the easiest day of all the training. We like to say that the day you run the marathon is the icing on the cake. But first we have to make the cake. So anyway, I am Gail Kislevitz. I am one of the coaches. If anyone was out there Saturday, I was out there running with you. I also work here at New York Roadrunners, and I have been with Team for Kids since it started in 2002. So anything you want to know about Team for Kids, I can also tell you, sort of like the historian. Who here tonight is running their first marathon? Wow, it's amazing. I love first-time marathoners because you have no clue what you're getting into. Exactly. You all think, wow, what a great idea. Someone said, I think I'm going to wake up this morning and run a marathon. So keep that thought. Keep that thought as we go through 22 weeks of long runs, speed works, all these different languages you'll be talking about soon and words you've never heard, or when someone says, what's a fartlek, you'll be able to tell them. Running the marathon will change your life. It is a day you will never forget. You probably will go on to run more because the euphoria of crossing that finish line will stay with you forever. I've interviewed a lot of people who run marathons, and I don't care how many they've run, how old they are, they will sit down and tell me about their first marathon like it happened yesterday. And that's why we're so excited for you. Not only are you running your first marathon, but you're doing it for a great cause. You're fundraising for kids who have no access to physical education or activities, and you are changing their lives. Just like the marathon is going to change your life, you are changing their lives. And I know that for a fact because I've been interviewing these kids for 10 years, and now some of them are in college. And they tell me that if it weren't for running, when they started out at 5 and 6 years old, some of them never would have gotten to college because it taught them the discipline. It taught them that they wanted to set goals, that they wanted to get out of their neighborhoods, they wanted to better their lives. And it was all due to running. So we are actually going to introduce one of those little kids tonight. Well, he's not so little anymore. He was little when I first met Owen. It's nice to see you again. And he actually is going to talk to you about how running changed his life, and then he has to go home and study. So, Owen.
Hi, I'm Owen, part of Young Runners Ambassadors. I go to Stuyvesant. I'm a junior. I started running in middle school in 8th grade. I became a part of Young Runners. I immediately started liking it. I did a lot of the races, and I really liked the aspect that, you know, of like pushing myself and challenging myself to new goals. And then, like, you know, I kind of did it off and on. When I started high school in Stuyvesant, I joined the cross-country team, and ever since then I've been in love with running. It's really become a part of who I am. I run 6 times a week. I train year-round. It's just really nice because, like, for one thing, I find it's a really great stress reliever. Like, especially from, like, all the schoolwork I have, and if I ever have, like, a problem, I just, you know, run it out. In addition, like, it's brought me in, like, excellent shape. In middle school I was still, like, athletic. I played, like, tennis, I used to fence a lot, but, like, running is, like, really, like, definitely put me in, like, much better shape than, like, I've ever been in before. It feels terrific. So yeah, I really support New York Roadrunners and Young Runners for all that they do. I think it's fantastic that you know, we're getting kids out to, like, we're fundraising money for kids, like, to get active because as we all know, like, obesity and like is like a #1 like problem today in the United States. It's like one of the top ones, and I think it's great that kids that we're like sharing how great running is and spreading the message, and I'm there to support it too.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Don't you also come out and work with some of the
Yes,
milers?
I
So
didn't-
he's actually coming back now that he's a young runner. 2 of our programs, the Mighty Milers are the little kids, and he'll come back and help train with the little kids.
Yeah, past 2 summers I've been working in the youth running series, which is like a summer-long program that meets like every day with kids throughout the 5 boroughs, and we like help develop their running skills, and they can be like elementary school to high school kids. And yeah, it's really great. I've also been starting to work with New York Roadrunners at various different races and youth events, youth and community service events. So yeah.
So they're learning to give back at an early age, which is
So
wonderful.
impressive.
Thank you, Owen.
Great.
Thank you.
One of the things, the projects that we started with some of the fundraising money is he's an ambassador, and our ambassador program is when we go out starting with kids from age 6, and if we feel that they have a potential to become public speakers, kids are great, they always have a lot of energy. We take a hand-selected group of kids, and during the summer, we get them coaching in speeching, I think I need a coach. No, we get them speech writing, and professional volunteers come in, and they teach them how to talk in public, and then once they graduate from that program, we take them out to fundraiser events, to galas, they get to meet all the elite runners, so it works really well for them, and then they apply those skills when they're filling out all their applications for schools. So that's part of what you do. But tonight is all about you and learning how to run a marathon. So the way I was just explaining to Troy how I see this evening flowing. So the first thing we do when we go out for a run is we get dressed. So we have to know how to dress like a marathoner. And that is Troy from JackRabbit. He's been working with us for a long time. He's a very valuable ally of ours.
Well, thank you, Gail. So unlike Gail, I'm not 100% sure that you're all going to know everything you need to know about running a marathon by the end of tonight. So let me pass out these marathon checklists. Basically, this is just a list of some of the gear that you may, some of it's essential, some of it's optional, need to run a marathon. I don't want to go through and try to explain every single thing that you're going to need, tonight, because I haven't been allotted that much time. Also because I just don't think it's that interesting. It's hard to explain to somebody who's not trained for a marathon what the journey is going to be like. That's a long journey, so you don't really know what's going to happen until you experience it. So mostly I come here to just sort of introduce myself and to introduce my store and to let you know that we're a resource for you along the way. Not only just buying stuff, but also a resource for information. I got this job, I'll tell you my story. I got into running. I really wasn't a runner until I moved to New York City sometime around 1999. And I was trying to find the library at City College one day, and I got lost, and I happened to stumble upon the New York City Marathon. And it was just really interesting. They were coming over the bridge from the Bronx, a bunch of sweaty, tired runners, and then there were complete strangers standing out on the street cheering for them. And that really moved me. I thought that's really great that people come out and cheer for complete strangers. I want to be a part of that. I thought maybe one day I could run a marathon, and a few years later I did. I was just talking with one of your colleagues, Jordan, earlier tonight about how I'm so sort of wistful for that first marathon, for that journey that I took, that I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have the proper gear. I was running in 3-year-old trail shoes, cotton socks, no nutrition. It was great. It's great looking back on it. I think probably at the time it was sort of painful. That's kind of how marathoning goes. It's painful, and then a little while later, as Gail pointed out, you probably can sign up for a second one because it's also really rewarding. So JackRabbit Sports, has anybody ever been to our store before? Okay, great. That's really good to see. Hopefully you had a good experience. We have 4 stores. The original, where I got my start, Park Slope, Brooklyn. There's one downtown on 14th Street. There's one on the Upper East Side, and then I'm the manager of the Upper West Side location on 72nd Street. I tell people I started working at JackRabbit because I got more and more into running after that first marathon. And I went to art school. That's why I came to New York. So I didn't know anybody who was an athlete, none of my friends at all. So I got a job at a running store so I could, hang out with runners and talk about running all day. And so if you do, want to come in and talk to us about running, that's kind of what we're there for. We enjoy talking about running. That's really all we do all day at the store. And so if you want to come in and be part of the conversation with us, please do. I brought a lot of props, and like I said, I'll be here for you. I'll be at the store. You can always come in and see me. They're 5 days a week. There's a lot of other great people who can talk to you about marathoning. I'll be here after the presentation, so if you have specific questions that you want to ask, I can answer those individually. I always put, running's a pretty simple sport. You don't need a lot of gear. You do need some gear, but try doing a triathlon. That's a lot more. Running, it's very simple. Order of importance, you start with the shoes, okay? So we would encourage, and I think Gail would encourage you, to come into JackRabbit and get fit for shoes if you do not have good shoes. If you think maybe you do have good shoes, bring them in and let's have a conversation about them. This is your foundation, this is like your best friend. So make sure you get quality shoes. At JackRabbit, we will put you through a fit process. We'll have you try on several pairs of shoes. We'll put you on the treadmill. We'll actually watch you run. So yes, do expect to do some running for us. And we'll make sure we get you in the right shoe. And if it's not the right shoe, we will allow you to return that shoe or exchange it for a different one, which sometimes happens. But getting you in the right footwear is essential to, as your mileage grows, you're going to find that the footwear is more and more important. So if you're in the wrong size shoe, or if you're in the wrong level of support, it's going to be a problem. You might not see it right away, but it's going to be a problem down the road. So we want to anticipate that and sort of help prevent any kind of fit issues or injuries that might come with improper footwear. You do not get to pick on color. So this Saucony is one of the more awesome shoes as far as the way it looks. That's why I brought it, but this is not necessarily the right shoe for everybody. You might end up in the slightly less exciting looking New Balance. Or you might end up in my favorite shoe, the Mizuno Rider. So that's just a personal taste thing. Nice shoe right here. After that, in order of importance, you do need socks. All running gear is non-cotton. Okay, so that's important, especially because you're going to be training. You're going to be racing in the fall, but you're going to be training through some of the hottest months in the year. Cotton is super comfortable. I mean, I have nothing against it. I'm wearing a cotton t-shirt right now to give this lecture. But I'll tell you, once you start sweating, cotton does not pull the moisture off your body. It doesn't wick. So you're sitting there soaking in your own sweat. So you want to make sure you get a good pair of synthetic socks. My favorite, the Features. Or something you might not think of would be a natural wicking fiber wool socks. Okay, so quality shoes, synthetic socks, and then on your way up, all the running gear. Here's some lovely shorts for a lady made by Saucony. These are my favorite shorts. I always say my sales pitch on these shorts, hopefully you'll think this is funny. If you buy these shorts, you'll constantly have to be looking down because you'll just have to make sure that you're wearing clothes. They're so comfortable that you'll think you don't have any pants on.
Do they have pockets?
This short has a great pocket.
Oh, I love those pockets.
And thank you for the questions, Gail. If anybody has questions, you're helping me out, just shout them out. This has a little pocket on the back. During a 26-mile race, you often have to carry more nutrition than that pocket will hold. So getting something like a race belt, this is a spy belt that has, it's an expandable pocket that'll carry more. So that way you don't have to buy the shorts with the pockets or make sure your shorts have pockets. You can just buy this belt and wear whatever shorts are comfortable to you. Okay, so this is a good idea. I think that's on the list. What else is on the list? Body Glide, the top section. We don't need to go too much deeper than that, but shoes, socks, synthetic apparel, nutrition, and Body Glide, right?
What's Body Glide?
Why
Yeah.
do you use Body Glide?
Yeah, Body Glide. So, something that we have to talk about a lot, especially when it comes to long distance running in the heat, is chafing. Lovely subject of chafing. So, like I said, getting synthetic apparel is going to help you chafe less. You are more prone to chafing when you are wet. So get something that helps keep you dry as possible. And then if that's not enough, a little bit of Body Glide. So those of you, how many people have used Body Glide before? You notice they changed the packaging recently. Pretty exciting, right? They had that same packaging for like 30 years. Body Glide is just it's a water-based lubricant. So you rub it on all over your body. Some places I rub it are underneath my arms, in my groin, okay? So those are the places that rub together when you're running. And so that's what's going to lubricate that and keep you from chafing. Around your sports bra or anything else like that that might rub a little bit, Body Glide is a solution. You can even put it on your feet. If you have blister problems, put this on first, then put on your synthetic socks, and then put on your great fitting shoes, and then you should not have blister problems. And then nutrition, I think that we're talking about nutrition next a little bit.
Yes.
So I'm just going to segue into it slightly. I didn't talk about compression socks. I didn't necessarily talk about how to carry water. Probably you're going to have to figure that out. You know, water, either handheld or water belt. Usually you don't need to carry these. Question?
Can I come back a bit about shoes? When
Yeah.
is like the better time to buy the shoes that we'll wear for the marathon? Is it better halfway through? Is it
Well,
better now?
you
Victoria,
probably
why
need.
don't you cover like how long a shoe should last in terms of
Okay,
miles and
that's great.
and things like that?
Good questions about shoes. A shoe like this is your trainer. This will last 400 to 500 miles. Okay, so how many miles are you running a week? 20 to 40?
It'll
Is that
get
about-
up there.
Yeah. So it's not going to last you through the entire training cycle. Okay, so if you get a pair of shoes now, you're probably going to be replacing your shoes again sometime in early to mid-October. Okay. Most people, this is a trainer, so it's fairly lightweight. They don't really make heavy running shoes anymore, but it's pretty much, it's solid cushioning, and that's what it's about. It's about getting the most protective shoe for your body because you're going to be running a lot of miles. It's not necessarily getting the best looking shoe or the lightest, fastest shoe. This is your trainer. Okay, this is what you can do most of your miles in.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah,
You said 500 is about the average?
500 would be the top, I would
Okay.
say.
So, as far as the marathon is concerned, how much in advance do you want to kind of break in that shoe before?
Well, good question. Again, we are living in the golden age of running shoe technology. All the shoes are fairly lightweight, and none of the shoes really need a long break-in period. You do not want to wear a pair of shoes for the first time in the race because what if it's a defective shoe? What if it doesn't fit you well? You do want to wear it for, maybe 20 to 50 miles before the race.
Okay.
But you don't need to, the shoe should be comfortable right out of the box. So it's not a long break-in period. Most people say if you buy a shoe now that you're going to do most of your training in, you're going to buy the exact, if you like that shoe, you're going to buy the exact same shoe sometime in mid-October. So you don't need to worry about, does this shoe work for me? You already know because you trained in it, this shoe's going to work for you. Break it in maybe for a few weeks, wear it a few times, and wouldn't wear it on race day. Some people will get a special lighter weight shoe for racing. Running 26 miles is a challenge enough. Most of the time I'd say that shaving a few ounces off your shoe isn't really worth it. Making sure your feet are comfortable at the end of that 26 miles is more important than shaving a little bit of weight off your foot. So most people are going to run the marathon in the same shoe that they trained in, a fresh pair, but the same model.
Should people alternate, wear two shoes?
A lot of people suggest that you wear two different pairs of shoes. I mean, I wear like 10 different pairs of shoes because I work at a shoe store. And to me, it's part of the hobby. So on the longer runs, on the recovery runs, I'm wearing something with a little bit more cushioning and protection. On my faster runs or on race day, I will wear a lighter racing shoe. I can see having two different shoes for two different purposes, but if somebody comes in to JackRabbit and says, I'm starting my marathon training for the New York City Marathon, we don't pull out and say, like, here's two pairs of shoes, you're buying both. Buy one, wear that for a little while, and if you feel like you want a second pair of shoes, you can buy that later and cycle it in. But it isn't absolutely necessary, I don't think, to own two pairs of shoes. Just know that you have to replace the shoe regularly. That's more important than buying two and cycling through. So I don't know if that's the same advice you would give your.
And how do you start to know, what are the warning signs that your shoe is time to hit the dust?
It's that's a tough one. A lot of people come in, bring in their shoes, and say, "What do you think? Is my shoe worn out?" We do keep customer histories at our store, so that's usually the best way. We look up when you bought it, and then we ask you how much you've been running, and then we do the math, and we say, well, you've run about 450 miles. It's probably about time. But just visually, it's hard to look at a shoe and tell if it's worn out. I mean, you can tell if it's really worn out if you've worn a hole through the sole and you can see your foot in there, like then you know. But really, the shoe was worn out way before that. So you really should just keep track of your approximate mileage. I mean, I think for everybody in this room, it's fairly easy. You're shooting for sometime in October to buy that second pair that you're going to run the race in. But mostly, some people keep a running log and keep track of every single mile they've done, and they even keep track of the shoes they did it in, so they know exactly how much mileage they have on each shoe. I don't do that. I would just say, keep track of about how much do you run a week, and how long have you had the shoes. Sometimes people say I have this little place in my knee that as soon as I hit 420 miles, it starts to ache. That's great for them. To me, it's a little harder to tell if his shoes is worn out. So you actually do want to replace it before you start feeling pain, because once you're injured, it's like you can't really go back. Like, oh, it turns out my shoes are worn out. So just kind of keep track of how much you've been wearing the shoe and when it's time to replace them, I would say, before you start to feel the pain, actually. A lot of times people are like, yeah, I think I might need a new pair, and then they put on a fresh pair and they realize how worn out their old shoes are.
Yeah.
It's a gradual process of wearing out. So it's not like, boom, I notice it. You don't really notice it until you put on a fresh pair and you realize, oh, there was cushioning in the shoe. It's so much more comfortable to run now. So yeah, that's I guess now that you're real runners, that's your task, to keep track of your weekly mileage and know when your shoes are worn out. Okay, so but like I said, I think it's pretty easy because you're all on the same training plan. You're probably all going to hit that point sometime around September, October, when you're going to be looking for new shoes. More shoe questions?
Gear, overall gear, clothing.
More gear questions?
Hats, the importance of hats and sunglasses.
The same thing about hats. You are going to be training in the heat, so it's nice to keep the sun off of your head, especially if you have either dark hair or if you have no hair. Either way, a hat is handy. Some people prefer the visor. I usually don't wear either one, honestly. I wear sunglasses. I never really wore sunglasses to run until I got some quality sunglasses, because if you don't get quality, they kind of sit down your nose and they're kind of annoying. But if you get good ones, they should stay in place. It allows you to relax your face. You want to be as efficient as possible when you're running, so a lot of times you're holding tension at different places in your body, and it can be in your face when you're running into the sun and you're squinting. So getting a hat, sunglasses allows you to relax and run a little more efficiently. It is a good idea. I like the sunglass solution.
What about compression gear?
Yeah, compression's on that list. Again, I think that there's essentials and then there's optionals. I like my compression gear. I brought some Zensa compression sleeves to show, and there are also some CEP run socks, which are less interesting to look at. I brought the Zensas that I thought would most closely match the Team for Kids uniform. It's not exact,
Cool.
It's close. What does compression do? How many people have seen or used compression garments? That's two different questions. But you've probably seen people running around in the park with really high socks. Part of that, I think, is a fashion statement. The high socks are coming back. But part of it is actual function. Compression garments have been used in medicine for a very long time to improve circulation. I'm not a doctor, but my understanding is that when you compress the leg from the outside, inside your veins and arteries dilate, so you get better blood flow. Okay, so that's worked its way into athletic gear over the last few years, and I mean, using is believing to me. I use these. A lot of times you'll see people using them, and I do think it's a good idea in long distance running to use compression gear. You're on your feet for a long time. I use them actually for recovery. You can actually use them after you run, so that it's like you're going to go home and sit around, but using compression gear is like getting an active recovery after you run. So when you're training for a marathon, recovery is important. Wow, that's something your coach will explain. It's not just doing the work, but it's recovering from the work so you can do more work. So this helps you recover faster and get out and run more often. So you're maximizing your rest days.
What about running in the rain?
Running in the rain, it's the same thing. You're not going to stay dry, but if you get gear that wicks, synthetic gear, that's the best you can do. And body glide, extra body glide, because you're going to be wet. So,
And we do train in the rain.
Yeah, if you're training in the
We're out there.
rain, if you're racing in the rain, one thing that comes up occasionally is it's always beautiful on New York City Marathon Day,
It is,
save,
absolutely.
except for 2 years ago when we had that hurricane, but it's always beautiful.
And we didn't run.
Yeah. So, but if you're running in the rain, they're not gonna cancel the race. They're not gonna cancel practice. So just.
I think running in the rain, the biggest concern is socks getting wet and then causing
Yeah.
blisters, and that's where the body glide would come in.
That's where synthetic socks. Really, I think in super wet conditions, wool is your best friend. It works, I think, even better than the synthetics. A lot of people don't think about wool for, for exercise. But yeah, wool socks are a really good idea. And a hat is also the one time like I might actually wear a hat, because you don't wear hats, but keeps the rain out of your face. It's pretty handy.
What about cold? What do you recommend?
Cold, I didn't bring anything for cold weather running, partially because it's the middle of summer and at our store we don't really have anything available. Partially because I just can't think that far in advance. When you run the race, again, the race, really lucky, 50 degrees, 45 degrees even is really comfortable temperature for running. You don't have to dress warm. You dress pretty light. You should dress like it's 20 degrees hotter than it is, which is great. When it's 40 degrees, dress like it's 60. That's basically shorts and a t-shirt. When it's 80 degrees, dress like it's 100. I mean, there's not really much you can do about that. That's why, I'd actually rather run in the cold than the heat. So we may be having this a different conversation later on. That's why I say we're a resource. So come on in when you get there. When it gets to be October and maybe it's getting cold, you probably do some early morning runs.
Yeah, well,
and
we'll run through 3 seasons if you
Yeah.
think about it. The
Yeah.
hot summer, the beautiful fall,
Yeah.
and some
Fall
cold
is
days.
ideal. But you do want to dress, it's hard for me to point to anything here, but you do want to dress like it's 20 degrees hotter than it really is for running. So even if it's 30 degrees, you're going to dress like it's 50. That means you're not going to have to wear a winter coat and heavy pants and big bulky gloves. You're not going skiing. You want to dress with real light layers and real light synthetic layers. You don't really have to wear a whole lot.
Any thoughts on hooded rain jackets and headbands? That's 2 questions.
Yeah, headbands. I think the visor or the hat is a little bit more popular. Usually the hats have like a sweatband built in, so if you're trying to keep the sweat out of your eyes, it's also probably good to keep the sun out of your eyes. So this is a more conventional solution, I think, than the sweatband. More popular these days, I guess. Hooded rain jackets. It's pretty good in a pinch. Like I have a really light jacket with me. Do I have it with me? Yeah. Yeah, here we go. So this is my favorite. You'd be surprised at how remarkably warm this is. It's like nothing. I like it because it's really packable. But I'll wear this in the winter with just like one small layer under it.
Is that the Houdini?
And I'm sorry?
Is that the Houdini?
It's a New Balance. I think it's called an impact jacket. But really, this as a windbreaker and as a rain protection and a light layer under it is get you through some pretty bad weather. And I'm talking like even when it's in the 30s. I do run when it's in the 20s, and then we'll wear a little bit more. But this is pretty handy. This is my favorite piece. It's almost like nothing. But again, you're running, you're heating up. It's going to trap all that warm air inside and keep the cold air outside.
T-shirt in the 30s.
There's something called a base layer. So T-shirt weight. It's no heavier than this cotton T-shirt, but it's synthetic. It's a little bit warmer.
Do you want to spend just 30 seconds on watches? Because you can go a whole realm of, with very simple, click it, tells you how fast you're going, and then you can spend hundreds on GPS systems. So what do we really need?
I think there's watch on there. I mean, what do you really need? I don't know. Listen to your coach and what your coach recommends. I think the coaches, this is the watch I use, so I guess it's the only watch I brought. It's got a timer on it. I happen to know a lot of distances. So when I run, I live in Brooklyn. When I run in Prospect Park, I know approximately, not to the 10th of a mile, but generally about how far I'm running. When I run in Central Park, I know the distances there, so I know about how far I'm running. But mostly, I'll tell you, I just run for time. I know about how fast I run, so go out and run 8-minute miles. I want to run how many miles a day? I just generally say, well, I want to do a 40-minute run. I want to do an hour run. I don't know if that's how you do your training, though. So your coaches are probably doing training more based on mileage than on time, because different people run at different paces. So they're making a plan for all of you, and you're going to run for some amount of time, and you're going to run for some amount of time, but you're all going to run the same distance. So I guess you're more distance based. So yes, there are GPS watches. you can buy a GPS watch. It's actually, the simple GPS watch is not that expensive. This watch costs about $55. A simple GPS watch is going to cost about $130. So that's a big price jump, but it's pretty affordable. That is nice. You can go out and you have the freedom to just run out the door. You don't have to know your distances. You don't have to plan out a route, just start running. And the GPS watch, using a satellite, will track you anywhere on the planet and tell you exactly how far you've gone. It'll also tell you how fast you're going. So if you're talking to your coaches about pacing, and they're saying, hey, you know, your target pace today is 9:30s, and you're running, how do you know you're doing 9:30s? You know, the GPS watch will tell you that. You can look at your wrist and be like, oh, I'm doing 9:30s. So a GPS watch is pretty handy to train with, and fairly affordable and really accurate. So the pricing, you did talk about more advanced models. We have GPS watches that will go up to $450. That will include a heart rate monitor and some other advanced features. But we could talk about what watch is right for you when you come into the store. I mean, honestly, for a beginning runner, you know, a lot of times we're selling that $130 Garmin. The Garmin 10, look it up. This is $130. It's the basic GPS watch. It's amazing. Does that sort of answer the question?
Okay, any other, and Troy will be here, but is there any burning question before we let Troy sit down?
We'll do, I think 1, 2, and then maybe 3. What's?
Just a quick question in terms of recovery here. So
Yeah.
you mentioned compression socks.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would say, I always use this every day after running?
I wish I could say I always use this every day. I don't. Foam roller. You know, if has anybody ever used a foam roller before? I didn't. It's like this big, so I didn't bring it. But you know, again, I think you'll probably thing about being on Team for Kids is you have great coaches, so you always have that great resource. So you can ask your coaches, and I don't want to say something to you that they wouldn't necessarily say. But we usually don't recommend a lot of heavy or stretching before you run. But some stretching afterwards and foam rolling afterwards is a great idea. So that's like, instead of tugging on the muscles, you're using a roller to kind of massage them out. You can't really foam roll too much, and especially, so recovery gear, really just the compression socks. You can get compression tights. Foam rolling is a really good idea. Again, you can talk about expense. The cheap foam roller is $20. It's a pretty good investment if you're going to use it. Like I said, I wish I used mine more. I'm guilty of not using it enough. Or you can get a more expensive one, you know, that's like $40. And then after that, it's just, I think we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, so I don't want to go into that too much, but recovery beverage. You know, you can eat food, but it's really handy to have a recovery beverage around because you do want to eat protein within like 20 minutes of your stopping your workout. So sometimes getting food or preparing food takes too long. So having a recovery beverage around, something with protein in it, is a good idea. Either something you can drink or something you can eat real quick and then drink a bunch of water with it. So this way you get the water with the protein, this way you get the protein and then you drink some water. But that's a really good idea. So you don't need a lot of protein, but protein for muscle recovery after a long run especially is a really good idea.
And that's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Perfect
Oh,
segue.
actually, I'm going to ruin the perfect segue. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you all got your marathon checklists. On the back of the checklists are our locations. The other thing I want you to pick up here, we do have a rewards points program. So make sure you get one of these before you leave. This is basically 100 points back on any purchase of $100. So the simple ratio for our points program is for every $100 you spend, you get $10 back. With this card, you'll get $20 back. Okay, so you buy a pair of shoes, next time you walk into our store, you'll have a $20 credit to spend. So make sure you pick up the extra discount cards they have on the table tonight so you can get like Team for Kids, extra bonus points.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so anyway, now on to the perfect segue to nutrition.
Yes,
And thanks everybody. I mean, seriously, thanks for your questions because it really helps me to talk about the things you're interested in. Obviously, you can tell I'm interested in talking about running. Come to the store, we'll talk to you some more.
He's great. Hang out with
Really
Troy.
appreciate
You'll
being
learn a lot.
invited. Thank you.
And just, I'm going to take 2 seconds because 2 issues came up, and I want to introduce Sarah, who is with Finish Line Physical Therapy, and they will be our partner in physical therapy. And we do have a whole other night. But while you're here, 2 questions. How important is the shoe? How many injuries do you see because people were wearing a worn-out shoe?
It's a good question. I think you look at the full body. So from our perspective at the clinic that I work at, we work 90% with runners and endurance athletes. So we work with this population all the time. And when you look at someone who comes in with an injury, it could very much be the shoe. It could very much be overuse. It could very much be not stretching and foam rolling. It can be a whole host of issues. So I think the shoe is a really important component to it. So working in tandem with a specialty running store and getting the right footwear is really important.
And foam rolling.
Foam rolling, yeah.
Very
I would add to Troy that it's an essential. I put it on the essential list.
Yes, next time I want to see a foam roller.
In terms of recovery tools, there's a lot that you can do for your body in making sure that you properly stretch and foam roll after. We'll talk a lot about that in a couple of weeks when we do the injury clinic, but we're very much in the business of not just helping people when they're injured, but helping them to prevent injuries, and stretching regularly, foam rolling, hydrating, all of those things are really important components.
We're all
to
connected.
it. It's all connected. It really is all connected. Nutrition is a key component.
Yes.
So I'm here if you have any questions. I put little cards. One of the things that we offer that I would say is also a big thing to do in this early part of the season is to do a full gait and movement analysis to understand what your movement patterns are. So that works in tandem with having the right pair of shoe. We are offering that free for Team for Kids. So if you have any questions about that, I'm here after, and then like I said, we'll talk a lot more about that in July.
Yes, July 8th, I believe.
Thanks.
So, now, you've gotten dressed. What's the next thing you have to do? You have to eat. It's very, very key. Sports nutrition is just as important as your training program, as getting out there and run. Because if you don't fuel your body, if you don't put gas in that tank, you're not going to make it. So, we are lucky to partner with Lauren from Nutrition Energy. They are runners, they are marathoners, they are Ironman people. So please share your knowledge.
Thank you. Hi everybody, I'm Lauren.
And the handouts, did it?
Yes.
Do we still need to pass out handouts? Does everybody have the handouts?
We have this.
Okay. All right, I'll get some.
Okay. All right. So it's, I'll try to cover as much as I can. I could probably talk for hours on this handout, so I will make it short and sweet. But, as I think you're learning tonight, that putting in the effort now is a lot better than putting it in to figure out everything that's going on back, in October, right? You want to figure out what your body needs, both gear-wise, physical therapy-wise, training-wise, and nutrition-wise now, so it's not a question when training gets, long and hard and exhausting. And the other thing that I'm sure you'll hear a million times before race day is you never want to do anything new come race day. So that means nutrition, right? So we want to have this down to a science. So while you can't control the weather or, who's running around you during the race, you can control when you're going to fuel, what you're going to fuel with, and have it down to a science, right? So that's really, what we work on with our athletes. As well as in conjunction with just a normal overall daily diet that's going to support your training needs. Going into marathon training, you're going to be expending a lot more calories than probably you're used to, especially if this is your first marathon. And the one thing to remember is that, the race day is only one day out of 365 days a year, right? So we want to make sure that the rest of those days are setting yourself up for success. So you're getting the right kind of breakdown of the macronutrients of carbohydrates and proteins and fats, which, we put a small little thing here about daily diet, right? If you want to take a look at that real quick. And, I can answer questions about all this after, but the biggest thing I would say for a daily diet to check in with yourself is to keep a couple-day food log, right? And then you can say, okay, I'm going to look at 3-4 days worth, see how many carbohydrate sources am I getting? Am I getting enough vegetables? Am I getting good solid protein for muscle recovery? Kind of what's my patterns like? And then we can pinpoint and say, this is something I need to change based off of kind of this overall training needs. Now, another thing to highlight is that what works for your running buddy isn't necessarily going to work for you. So everybody is very individual in terms of both nutrition and gear and everything, right? So this is a very individual thing, and you know, that's, I think, the benefit of, you know, really delving into nutrition now is knowing, you know, it's also a steep learning curve. I think you're going to learn that, okay, like going out for a burrito and margaritas right before a long run probably isn't the best idea. Your stomach's not really going to handle that so well. So, you know, you're going to learn quickly. And, you know, as we get into this, you're going to want to think about nutrition 3 separate ways. Pre-run, during the run, and post-run. Those are all equally important, you know. And pre-run, what you're going to want to do, now, you know, you're going to have early Saturday morning practices, I'm assuming, for some long runs. Right, exactly. So that doesn't mean you can just roll out of bed and go, right? Just like you're putting on your sneakers, you need to put fuel in your body. And that's mostly going to be carbohydrate-based. Typical things a lot of people like to do, you know, toast, banana, peanut butter, something simple on your stomach. We don't want a lot of fiber. You do want a little bit of protein, and what that's going to do, I think it is listed here, it's going to spare muscle breakdown. So if you give yourself quality carbohydrate, that's what your body's going to run off of. That's the gas you're putting in the tank, okay? So if you want to do bagel, oatmeal, you know, toast, like I mentioned before, basic, easily digestible. Now that's going to be something different for everybody. So you have to play around with that a little bit. The other thing is giving yourself enough time before running. Depending on how much you eat, the more you eat, the longer period you want for digestion before you start. So while you can have a banana within the hour before, you probably could have a full bagel and an egg and a juice 3 hours before. So things to think about: how early are you getting up and what you require. Now everybody requires different amounts before, like I mentioned. So that's something, again, that, you know, we work with people on. How much do you need based off of your body weight and your pace per mile, and, you know, how many miles you're running. So, you know, those are some kind of pre-exercise ideas for you. The other thing is make sure you hydrate. We're going to talk about hydration on the run, but before the run as well. 12, 16 ounces of water or Gatorade. Always have to make sure you're getting in some fluids, okay? Hydration and carbohydrates are the 2 things that you're going to become very close with over the next couple months. So when you're on the run, now, has anyone done a half marathon before? All right, awesome. Have you used any of these products, these gels, goos, Gatorades? Yes, awesome. Okay, good. So what did that do for you? How did anything? Anyone? Awful. Uh-oh. Okay.
I don't like the gels. I tried some gooey jelly-like thing, and that didn't work for me.
Okay.
But then I read that raisins are a good alternative, so I actually took the raisins, and that worked beautifully for me.
Great.
So that was my...
I eat dates. I don't like any of the artificial stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, good.
I
So,
like the chemicals.
yeah, chemicals are fine too. Right. So really, anytime you're running for about over an hour, you're going to need to start to supplement carbohydrate, and basically that means sugar, pure sugar. And what that's going to do is go into your bloodstream and give you immediate energy to burn off. Now, we want things that are going to give you that right away boost, right? So something like, you know, these gels, which are mostly sugar-based, or dates, or raisins, or sometimes even people like to have pretzels because they're salty and they're delicious. You can have, you know, all of these products are great, and it's totally individual. It's just a matter of how much you're getting and when you're getting it. So really, you know, what you want to remember is the goal is to get in about 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates an hour. I believe that's written on the sheet, so you don't have to write that down. But what that is, you know, usually about a gel is 25 grams or so. So if you have 1 or 2 of those an hour, that's really what performance-wise has been shown to have peak performance in terms of quality energy and quality carbohydrate. Now, anytime you're going to have a sports nutrition product or raisins or dates or something like a sugar source, you want to make sure you're having fluids with it. And what that's going to do is make sure that, because all the blood is in your legs right now, that you can start to digest what you just ate. And you want to make sure that, because you're sweating as well, you're replacing those fluids. The goal is to get about a bottle of water per hour of activity. Now that's why.
Bottle of what size?
What's exactly right? So that's what I was going to say, right? Like bottle of this, about 16 ounces probably. So you're gonna have to play around, yeah. And a lot of people are dehydrated. You know, these are great if you want to carry something with you. This is a great option. The other option is the belt, right? So on these training runs, when you're going out for 2-3 hours, you can't rely on water fountains in the park. You know, it's not going to give you enough. So find out what works best for you. You know, what's easy enough gear-wise, go into JackRabbit, figure out what works. And really, you know, some people like to set their watch to beep every 20 minutes to tell them to drink water. Or, you know, if you're running with a group, everybody can be like, okay, like hydration stop, goose stop, whatever it is. I think your coaches are going to be really, you know, kind of on top of you. Yeah, yes. Exactly, which is great because, you know, until it becomes routine, it can be tough to get into the groove.
And get used to Gatorade because that's what they'll serve in all the races and at the marathon.
Exactly. So that's the next great point is electrolytes. So while we're replacing water, when you sweat, you lose electrolytes as well. You lose sodium, you lose potassium. Now, we can't replace those just through water and through gels or raisins or any other sports nutrition product, right? So that's why the benefit of training with what is going to be out there on race day is the most important thing. So this is Gatorade Endurance. That's going to be on the course. What that is, it's a little bit different from regular Gatorade because it has double the sodium. So it's going to have more salt. So that means you're going to be replacing the salt so you can absorb all the water as well. So you can't absorb water without electrolytes. So if we lose, and I don't know if anyone's finished a run and had salt caked on their face, if it's really hot out, I know I do, you know, we got to get that salt in. Now, if you are like, my stomach does not work with Gatorade, you know, some people just can't tolerate it, totally understandable. Now, that's why we have these other great products that, you know, this is an electrolyte tablet. So you put that in some water, that's going to take care of your sodium, your potassium, without necessarily the sweetness of the Gatorade. Now you just have to be conscious that you're not getting carbohydrate from this. It's just electrolytes, so that means you have to make sure you're getting your fuel as well. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes. So really we need the sodium and potassium. That's really the core, right?
What's that?
The nutrition we need is really sodium and potassium. Everything else is just a delivery mechanism?
We need sodium, potassium, and we need carbohydrates.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, as far as electrolytes.
Yeah. And you know, you're going to lose more sodium than you are potassium. So I know a lot of people are like, coconut water, you know, it's been touted as a really good recovery drink. It actually doesn't have any sodium in it, so it's not that great, unless you add salt to it, which I guess you could. But, you know, it's going to replace the potassium, but not much else. So just be conscious of that. Questions on during the run? I know I kind of flew through that. Yeah.
I have a question like beforehand.
Okay.
So say you're going on like a 15-mile run on a Saturday.
Yeah.
How much water should you drink the day before you do that? Like, will that help, or does it, you know, not really matter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I think you want to pay attention, and that goes back to kind of what I was talking about before, that every day matters, right? I think, you know, you probably want to aim for about 3 liters of water fluids a day. And that's high for some people. And what that's going to do is ensure a constant state of hydration. Does anyone know how to tell if they're properly hydrated or not? I heard it somewhere. Exactly. So the color of your urine is going to tell you. If it's you don't want dark yellow, you don't want totally clear, you want like lemonade, we like to say.
This is an okay topic for runners. We're
Yeah,
talking
you're
about
gonna
our
talk about
pee,
everything.
what color
Yeah.
is your pee, it's okay.
Get used to it, yeah. So exactly, so that's a great way to know if you're properly hydrated going into a long run.
Wait, clear is bad?
It's not, I mean, it means you're very well hydrated. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but you know, you don't have to be worried if it's not completely.
Bring in a sample, Sheila.
Yeah, we can discuss it.
Can I ask a question about the gels?
Sure.
Is there a risk that you just get sort of sugar spikes when you use that, and then you kind of need to keep fueling off that for the rest of the race?
That's a great question. Now, I'm gonna say not really, because you've burned through. Like, you're gonna start using a nutrition product probably about 45 minutes to an hour into your run, right? And then you're gonna continue doing that every 30 minutes, 45 minutes afterwards, and that's gonna be based off of what your nutrition plan is. The thing is, you've kind of run out of carbohydrate at that time, so anything that you're taking in is gonna be being used up right away. So you're not really gonna get a low because it's being used. And you're not really going to get a high either. But yes, I mean, I would say once you start, you probably need to continue on. And that's going to be for kind of optimal performance, right? So, yeah.
I have two questions. One, what if you just don't feel like eating this stuff or eating anything at all? And
yeah.
Two, how immediate is it once you start eating it?
If you don't feel like it, I would say sports drink is probably the best way to get calories in you. Filling up this with Gatorade and kind of continually getting that in. The other thing is training your body for it.
I think once you don't take it and
yeah,
you realize what happens, you will learn very quickly
You'll feel it.
how important it is.
But you're saying that even if you don't feel like it, you need it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that's because your body's going to run on carb. And when you've depleted all the rest of the stores that your body has, those glycogen stores, anything coming in is going to be your only source of energy. So even if you don't really feel like you need it, your body's going to respond a lot better. And you'll probably feel the difference, I guess, for lack of better words, pretty quickly, within the mile. Because again, this is simple sugar. This is sugar that's going to hit you right away. Yeah.
Do you have an option to drink water on the marathon, or is it only Gatorade?
Yep, there's water.
There's water and marathon, water and Gatorade, both sides of every mile.
Okay.
We'll get into that further on, but yes, there is water.
And yeah.
What would you say? What is your view on smart water? Like instead of Gatorade, if you don't like the food flavor or the sugary, is the electrolyte enhanced water just as good or no?
I don't think it's going to give you as much as you need. What I would say is, just pop one of these electrolyte tablets in a regular water. That's probably your safest bet. It's probably not going to give you as much sodium as would be to replace what you're losing. But yeah, definitely a good question. Yeah.
I'm always nervous to drink too much water before a race because I need to go to the bathroom. Can you address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and everybody's different with that. So what I would say is that's something training-wise to figure out. Start with 8 ounces of water before your run, and then if that works, go for 12. And also think about how long you're going to be out there. As runs get longer, you kind of have to make sure that you're properly hydrated. There's been a lot of research showing that any sort of dehydration can impair performance, even if it's just dehydration by 1 or 2%. Your performance is going to go down. So that's, sorry, I don't really have a straightforward answer to that, but I would say with training, hopefully you would learn and start yourself off slow and make it like an experiment every week. See what works for you, what doesn't. Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about the steps that we go about in terms of designing a nutrition plan?
Yeah. That's a great question. So that's really, I'm doing this general kind of guidelines now, but really when, I'm speaking with someone one-on-one, it's much more individual. And really what we take into account is, height and weight and training, and also their metabolic rate. Now we have, I was going to kind of touch on this later, but we have a machine that measures how many calories your body requires at rest. And that's going to be different for everybody. And that's something that, it's just part of you and what it is. So we can test that, and then we can add in the calories that you're burning through exercise and through daily lifestyle activity, and then get to that range of, what you require if you want to you know, either maintain your weight or gain muscle or lose weight or, you know, whatever the goal is.
Run a marathon.
Run a marathon, exactly. Exactly. And so then we have a sense of how much you need, and then we're going to figure out how many grams of carbs you need, how many grams of protein you need for adequate muscle, you know, growth and recovery and repair, and then work the fat in there. And then, you know, what I think we really like to do is tailor it to your individual lifestyle. Like, I'm at work at 6 a.m. and then I train at this time, so how do we fit in proper nutrition and balance, you know, with each person's lifestyle? So, you know, I think it's really getting a wealth of information and tailoring it to each person.
So how do you get that?
What's that?
How do you go about getting that assessment?
Well, you would have to go see a nutritionist.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I thought this was
It's only
something
just
Just
that.
kind of like talking one-on-one. Yeah.
And just a quick follow-up
Yeah.
question. So are there any telltale signs that a nutrition plan is working or not working besides just fatigue?
Yeah, I mean, I think energy and recovery are the two biggest things that you're going to notice. Feeling good on your runs and feeling like after those 16, 18-mile runs that your recovery as well, the soreness, the amount of injuries, that plays a big role, nutrition. And just, you know, if your stomach's doing well, I think there's a lot of GI stress during races and during training. So if we have that figured out, you know, basically if your body's working like a well-oiled machine, right? You'll be able to tell. And I know energy-wise, it's usually a big change.
So would you recommend tracking, I guess, a nutrition plan as well as training?
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a very important idea because you're starting to eat foods and goos and gels that you probably are not used to. You don't know how they're going to react to you or what happens on a run if you don't like a goo. It could be upsetting you. So this is why in the next couple of weeks when we go out there to do our training runs, we want you to experiment and try them all. And you'll find the one that works for you. And hopefully before the marathon, you'll find the ones that don't work for you. And that's just as important. So let's spend some time that was an excellent question about the recovery and how food plays into that, because we're going to start asking you to bring some recovery food with you when we go out for these long runs, because there's a very small window to recover.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's, you know, and that's that third piece of the puzzle here. And I think Troy mentioned it earlier that, you know, having a bar in your bag for as soon as you finish the run is a great idea. Now, what you really need post-run is a little bit of protein and a little bit of carbohydrate. Now, you don't need to get like a Cliff Builder bar with 50 grams of protein or whatever they have out there, I don't know. Pretty much only need about 10 to 20 grams of protein. And now it's been shown that anything over 20 isn't going to be beneficial. So the more, it's not really better, okay? And you're also going to want to start to replace carbohydrate because, like we learned, carbohydrate is that gas that's fueling the whole run. So great example is a bar. Grab a smoothie, right? Get home, have a yogurt and some fruit at least. You know, it doesn't have, it can be a peanut butter sandwich. It can be really pretty much anything as long as you're hitting a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrate. Now, if you do that, what's going to happen is your muscles, ideally within 45 minutes of the run, because you have this recovery window that we want to capitalize on, that your muscles are going to soak up those nutrients about 80% more efficiently in that window than after. So we want to eat then, and then within about 2 hours, have a good solid meal. So that's the other big important thing, that this isn't your lunch, this is just a snack to get you to lunch, okay? And that's going to be tied to injuries, soreness, you know, and the other thing, hydration. That's the other big thing. Make sure that you're going to replace fluids that you lost. You can always do a sweat test, and maybe your coaches will talk about this. You can weigh yourself before a run, right? Weigh yourself after, figure out how much sweat you're losing, so we can really pinpoint how much fluids you specifically need, you know, versus, again, your running buddy or somebody else, because everybody sweats at a different rate. So I don't know if that answers some questions. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on so there's vegan protein, like Warrior Blend is one that I get a lot. I'm not a vegan, but I eat everything. But sometimes I really love the grain juice after, and they have this warrior blends, and I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on that? It's supposed to be plant-based protein, but
Okay.
what do you think about that?
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You know, I think if you're going to do a juice, you want to make sure that you're getting the protein in, right? And that's absolutely not a problem. Like I said before, as long as we're getting it in, it's okay. And those are, you know, those are fine. You know, you can always use supplements when you need it. I think real food is always the best, but if you're on the go, no problem at all. Yeah. Just tell me if we're running out of time, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lauren will stick around, so we think we need to sort of move on a little bit.
Okay.
But this is so critical. You can't run a marathon without knowing this. And these are all building blocks. It's a lot of information, but your coaches are going to be reiterating this all through the season, and in about 3 weeks, we're going to do our first really long run. We need you to sign up with the New York Roadrunners' first long run. It's going to be anywhere between 11 and 13 miles, and that will be running on the roads in Central Park. And it's a great time to start experimenting with all these things, how to grab water, how to take it, when to take it. And we'll be doing a series of those, but it's really key, and it's a great way to get your practice in with your nutrition plan, so that, you know, when we start hitting the 18 milers and the 20 milers, that plan is going to work for you. So,
yeah, I just wanted to let you know, I have a sign-up sheet. If you're interested, we give out sports nutrition letters once a month. Just email us out. We won't.
Yeah, they're great. I read them all the time.
So yeah, if you want to get on the list, or if you want to come in for a consultation, so you can get on a good, you know, specific marathon nutrition plan, we do take insurance. So I have business cards, and we can chat if you have any other questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you're dressed. You've eaten breakfast, and now you have to get out. You're dying to get out that door and run, but oh my gosh, the phone rang, or oh, my kid's sick. Oh, I can't run this morning. What am I going to do? So I'm going to run after work. I'm going to bring everything to work. So now you're going to get that run in after work. But then, oh, my boss gave me this project. I'm not going to get to my run. And before you know it, life is cycling all around you. How do you fit it all in? I mean, this is a huge training plan. We are asking you to give us 20 weeks of your life, and in return you will run a wonderful marathon. But in the meantime, during this 22 weeks training period, how do you fit it all in? We're all busy. We have jobs, we have kids, we have lives, we like to party, we have our weekends, we have our friends. You can fit it all in, but some things have to go. We have to make sacrifices. And so I have come up with some tips on how to fit it all in. So the first thing you really need to do is write down every week when you get that Sunday email and it tells you what you're doing, write it down on every calendar you own. Put it in your phone, put it in the house, put it in the kitchen. Tell everybody that you need to know, this is what I'm doing Tuesday night. Monday night I'm going to Central Park to work out. Saturday I have a long run. Tell your spouse, tell your kids, tell your babysitter. Make sure that your training plan is as important as a business plan, because it really is. You need to get it done. So write it down everywhere. Again, the same thing. Alert the caretakers. Tell whoever you need to tell where you're going to be and how important this is. You don't want to wake up Saturday morning and say, oh, I forgot I had kids. I can't go for the run. Get a babysitter. Tell whoever you need. Have it all arranged. A guest is coming into town. Give them the subway map. You need to get to your run. Fit it all in. Alert everybody that you're running. The time of your runs. A lot of people can get up at 5 o'clock and run early in the morning. I am not one of them, but I know many people who can. We were giving this talk a couple of years ago, and some girl said, but when I hear the alarm, I just hit snooze. What am I going to do? So we told her to take the alarm clock and put it on the other side of the room. So she at least had to get out of bed. And while you're out of bed, you might as well go run. So if you can run in the morning, that's great. If you work at New York Roadrunners, you can work in the afternoon and come back and shower. I don't know how many people can do that. Whenever you can get your run in, get it in. And then along with that, our coach will talk to you about if you have to miss a day or switch a day, that's okay too. But you need to get it all in. You have to find the time that's right to run for you. I like to run late afternoons, early evenings. That's when I have more energy. Doesn't work for everybody. Find the time that works for you and get it in. And again, here's another good thing. Make every step count. Take the escalator. Walk everywhere you need to go. If you're driving to a parking lot, park in the farthest spot and walk. Start learning to use your body. Take those brisk walks. Walk wherever you can, because that'll also help with your training. To get anything to get your body moving will be part of your training. And as we all know, something will have to give. Hopefully it's not someone. Hopefully it's something. Running is the key component in your life. Other things will have to wait. You need to prioritize. Things that you thought were so important that you could not live without, you're going to surprise yourself of what you can live without and what you can give up. And the good news is some of those things you may never go back to, because now you're going to be so efficient with your time that you're going to be able to do even more things. You know that old saying, give a busy person something to do? Well, you are all going to be that busy person because you're training for a marathon. So learn to prioritize. This is a really key one. Support groups are really hugely helpful when you are running a marathon. Not only just, you know, the physical support group that you will get when you run with Team for Kids. Everybody's there, and now we know we can talk about peeing and we can talk about all these things that nobody else wants to hear. But you also need the emotional support, because that's just as key. You're doing something that's insurmountable. And there's going to be many days that you're going to roll out of bed and say, I don't want to do it today. I'm tired, I'm this. You'll come up with all the excuses, and believe me, I've done them all, I know them all. But if you have someone there saying, wait a minute, this is your goal, this is important to you, you need that voice going on in your head. So tell everybody you know, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your boss, everybody, that you are running the New York City Marathon, and it's important to you. And you'll see their jaw drop, because most people don't even dream of running a marathon, and you're doing it. So tell everyone you know that you're running the marathon, and ask for their emotional and physical support in any way they can help you. Whether it's, hey, you know, I'll babysit for you, or, you know, I'll make a couple of meals for you if you're running late. Get those support groups going. And again, ask for help. Don't be a hero, be human. You won't get it all done. So start asking for, you know, any help that you need. Help with work, help with the kids, help with, you know, forget the house and the cleaning the house. That's not going to happen at all. But ask for help. And this, I thought this was really cute. Find an enthusiastic running partner. There's nothing better when you run out, you know, roll out of bed at 5 in the morning and you're, oh, this is the last thing I want to do. And you meet that cheerful person on the corner and say, hey, we're going to run 10 miles. Isn't this great? And you're like, yes, it's great. And before you know it, you're going to fall right into that flow of positivity. So surround yourself with positive people, marathoners, runners. There's nothing we love better to do than talk about running, go for a run. Running is our life. And you'll quickly learn that your non-running friends are not going to be interested in the color of your pee. They're not going to be interested in, okay, you ran 10 miles, I heard it already. We want to hear it. So surround yourself with people like that. You're going to have to learn to multitask. You're going to make that sandwich and put it in your backpack before you go for the run. So enough said about multitasking. You will learn how to be champions of multitasking. And then, you know, finally, running a marathon, as consuming as it is, we don't want you to alienate yourself from family and friends. We do want you to have a social life and party and all that stuff. So the whole key is balance. You have to strike that balance between getting in the training for the marathon, which right now is really the most important thing in your life, but balancing the other aspects of your life. And it is doable. I mean, I'm still happily married, and I run a lot. So, but it is striking that balance. And if you need help with that, you know, the coaches, your mentors, we've been there. We've done it. We know how to get through it. So fit it all in. Yes?
I just noticed on the schedule, obviously Saturday is like the game day, it's the most important one. But in reality, you know, obviously in the summer we all have commitments and things. Is it the only switch that I thought might work best is, can you flop Saturday and Sunday? I actually really like running in the group. I've attended so far. the long runs are so tough, and you need people to run with it.
Yeah.
But if you can't make it, can you do like your own short Saturday, if you have a busy Saturday, and then do the long run Sunday by yourself? Is that something that's so
Yes, that is something, and Scott is going to talk about, where's Scott? Scott is going to talk about that. The training plan is very important, but it's not written in stone. It can be made to order. We'll work with you if you're going on vacation and you want to play with your kids, you want to get out there and have fun. We will work you through that. That's part of why you chose Team for Kids. We'll tell you how to switch those days. I do have to say though that on our long runs, the Saturdays are key, and if you can come out and make it and run with us, we have a lot of fun running 20 miles. You won't believe that now, but we do. So it's fitting it all in. The long runs are key. If you can't come out and run with us, you're on vacation, you're on a business trip, just try to get it in. And that's why we're going to bring, where is Scott? Oh, there he is. Come up here, Scott. We are very lucky to have Scott Rupplinger. He's our head coach. I don't know if anyone of you have come out and met him. He was here on the first day, May 31st. And he developed the plan, so if you have any issues, please talk to Scott.
We'll see how it goes on November 3rd, and then we'll see if I developed it. So of the coaching staff, we actually have 11 coaches, including Gail, that work with us throughout the season. You'll see all of them at all the practices. They're also the ones that you guys can reach out to. We're here for any issue you have, even if it's a nutrition gear issue, a nutrition issue, a gear issue. Email the email address that's at the bottom of the training plan, the email address that's in every email you get, and that's TFK Coach. We'll get back to you, and if we can't answer it, we're at least going to send you to Troy, to Lauren, to somebody who's better suited to answer it. But any questions you have, come through. The 11 coaches combined, I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 12 to 15,000 runners have worked with us. So we've heard the questions. There's nothing that's too crazy, I think. The training plans that you get, it's 23 weeks, which sounds like a really long time, and it is. But the nice thing for you guys, for marathon training, the longer you have, the better success you're going to have, the better chance of getting to the starting line healthy and having a really enjoyable experience. So 23 weeks is fantastic. We're ready halfway through week 3. So it's going by quickly. Feels like you just started. And you'll get an email every Sunday, and in that Sunday email will kind of lay out your life for the next week. Each of the runs, what type of run it is, what you should be doing on that run, as well as the tips of the week, some inspiration from some of the youth runners and young runners, as well as where we're going to be meeting as a team. As a team, we meet every Monday night and Wednesday night at 6:30 in Central Park at 81st Street. And all those runs, we start right at 6:30. We will be out of the park by 8 o'clock. A lot of people are coming from work. There's a bathroom there that you can change at. We have bag check there. Most people come from work in suits, dressed, changed, leave their stuff there, and they're home. Easy way, like Gail was saying, find a way of fitting it in. That may be a way of, you delay whatever you're going to do on a Monday or Wednesday night till 8:30, and you'll be able to get your run in. Saturdays for our long runs, we meet at various locations. This Saturday we'll be meeting in Central Park at the 81st Street TFK spot at 8 o'clock. That location will slowly change. Over the length of the entire training program, if you come to every practice, you'll have done 238 miles in Central Park with us. Central Park is not so big, so you'll be more than happy when we start moving around. We'll run in Brooklyn in a couple weeks. We will run, hopefully, in Van Cortlandt Park, Roosevelt Island, and Lower Manhattan, as well as the West Side Highway and Riverside Park. So we try to get you kind of all over the city. You'll also be participating in 3 New York Roadrunner events, and that's the 2 New York City long runs, which is a great experience if you've never run in a large group before. It's very low key, it's not racing, nobody in, spiked shoes is gonna start elbowing you out of the way. You actually run in pace groups with pacers that come from New York Flyers, so they'll keep you on track where you need to be. You stop every few miles as a group to use the bathroom, to get Gatorade. It's a great first experience in that kind of packed running that you're gonna have on race day. We'll also participate in the 18-mile tune-up, which is 4 weeks before race day, and that's going to be kind of a great way for you to get in the mentality of what race day is going to be. The 18-mile tune-up is several thousand people, 3 laps of Central Park. It'll probably be one of the most difficult runs you'll do of the season, but it'll also, at that point in the season, you're ready for it. It's kind of your warm-up to what race day is going to be. There's 3 training plans. A beginner plan, which is ideal for anybody who says, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never run a half marathon. In fact, I'm off the couch. Don't know what's going on. Absolutely perfect plan for you. And as you start, you may realize some of the mileage seems like it's a little too long, a little too much starting. Your first Saturday long run was 5 miles. That seems a little long. That's fine. Your goal is to be able to do 8 miles on June 28th. So you still have another 18 days to work up to that. If you're not there, drop an email to that email address, pull one of the coaches aside at practice. We'll rewrite the next month of your plan to get you kind of on the track that you need. The second plan is an intermediate plan, which is perfect for somebody who's done a bunch of half marathons or done a marathon before and says, I know what it's like to run 25, 30 miles a week. My body's kind of used to it. How can I take my running to the next level? Finishing the marathon's a goal, but I have kind of a secret hidden goal behind that I know I can push a little bit. And the third plan is the experience plan, which is for somebody who's done and completed at least one, if not a couple marathons. Your body's used to what's going on. You're very comfortable with your pacing. It's a relatively high mileage plan where you'll be running 6 days a week. And that plan will get you ready if you're the individual who's looking to run, maybe a 3:15, 3:30 marathon, a little faster marathon. You've gone through the experience. Now it's about exceeding your previous goals. The days of the week that you run, not all runs are the same. And the reason for that is your body needs the opportunity to recover from a previous run, as well as get ready for the next run. Also, you have different muscles, different muscle groups, different systems within your body. You need to get all of those different systems ready for race day. A marathon, though you may think you're going to come out and run one pace the whole time, your body's going to go through a whole series of cycles from starting to burning easy energy, to starting to burn reserve energy, to running on tired legs, to just the muscle fatigue that you may be getting later on. So each of the runs throughout the season are designed to work different facets of race day. So come race day, you should have had the experience of running on really tired legs, not feeling like you could do too much. You're going to get that later in the season when you come out for a Monday night recovery run after you did 18 miles 2 days before. Also, when you see the finish line, you're ready to start sprinting, you're going to have fast twitch muscle fibers that are ready to start firing and going because of our Wednesday night workouts, which are our speed workouts. The kind of differences in days. Monday is your recovery day. Right now, for a lot of you, Mondays feel like every other run, and it should. Once the mileage gets up to 10, 12, 14 miles on your Saturday, your Mondays, you're going to come out, and that's your chance to kind of get your legs moving again, get blood flowing. Your muscles are still going to be recovering and rebuilding. They don't do it instantaneously. And it's kind of your first chance to get out there and say, this is okay, we're going to be fine, and prepare you for your Wednesday run. For those runs, we do what's called slow fosse. Start out slow, get a little faster in the middle, finish easy. All of that run should be conversational if you're running with someone. You're breathing a little heavy, your heart rate may get a little up towards the middle, but you can have a full conversation with the person next to you throughout the run. Your Tuesday, if you're not following the experience plan, is a rest day. If you're somebody who wants to add in something that you already do in life, let that be yoga, little strength training at the gym, spinning, cycling, that type of activity, Tuesday's a great day to do it on. Your Wednesday is going to be your quality workout, and we're going to do hill workouts, track workouts, tempo runs, fartleks, all these kind of new terminology. That'll be in the email every week explaining what we're going to be doing. If you can make it out to practices, Wednesday nights are a great time to run with the group, run with the other mentors and coaches, because those are the workouts where it's pushing you a little bit. On an effort scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, slow, lazy walk, 10 being all out 100-meter sprint, those we may push you up into the 7 or 8 range. So your heart rate's going to get up, your breathing's going to get up, we're going to start working your cardio system a little bit, and really start tearing up your muscles in a good way. And that's a great time to be with a larger group who can sort of pull you along during those workouts. Thursdays is another slow fascia day. You're recovering from your Wednesday run. You're getting some more time on your feet, some more mileage on your legs, but yet you're realizing that your long run is coming Saturday. Friday's your rest day because you're doing your long run Saturday. Saturday, your long run, and that'll slowly increase in distance. And then Sunday is what we call a flex day. Listen to your body. If you get up Sunday morning and you say, hey, I feel great. Yesterday went well, my nutrition was right on, my hydration was right on, I feel good. Go out and do the mileage that's listed in the email, that's listed on the schedule. If you wake up and say, ooh, I'm feeling a little tired, legs are a little beat up, I know next week is another build-up week, it's going to be a little tougher, do some cross-training. Swimming is fantastic, as well as some cycling, even just a nice long brisk walk around the neighborhood. Good day to do your errands, grocery shopping, that type of thing, where you're up on your feet doing a little bit. And if you wake up and say, I am trashed, I feel awful, my body's just beat up and tore down, it becomes a rest day. So that's going to vary for every individual on a week-to-week basis. The kind of master plan of the 23 weeks is what we do is we start with race day and we work backwards. From race, for ease of where you're at now, I'm going to do the reverse though. So it's usually about a 3-week build-up where each week the mileage increases a little bit, your long runs will get a little bit longer, and then that 4th week we do what's called a step back week. The mileage will drop down, the intensity will drop down on the quality workout, and your long run distance will drop down. The reason for that is it's giving you time for your body to basically catch up to what you just did. We want to give you time to rest, to rebuild, and to recover before we jump back in to the next cycle where we build up again. You'll see once we get into about week 14, that then switches to a 2-week build-up where we get a little longer, a little more intense. 1-week step back, 2-week build-up until your final long run. If you're following the beginner plan, it's a 20-mile run. The intermediate plan's a 21, and the experienced plan's a 22. For that run, we'll actually be outlining the entire island of Manhattan. So if you've ever wondered what the East River, the Hudson River, and Central Park look like, we covered all at once. So we'll do that run for your long run, and then we do what's called the taper period. And for the next 3 weeks, your mileage slowly comes down, your intensity comes down. That gives your body 3 weeks, but basically 20 days, full recovery, full rebuilding. You step to the starting line, ready to go. But life happens. So, of the, like I said, 10,000, 15,000 runners who've gone through and followed these plans, I personally know of 2 that have made every run as scheduled. It doesn't happen. In reality, the 1,500 runners we have this year, we will have 1,500 different training plans walking to the starting line in November. So, how do you deal with that? If you have to start missing runs for work, for travel, for family, your priority list, Saturdays are most important, your Wednesdays are second most important, your Mondays are third most important, your Thursdays are fourth, if you're following the experience plan, Tuesdays are the 5th most. With that said, always take a rest day the day before your long run. Always make the day after your long run your flex day. And then you can kind of build the rest around that. The question about if you can't make Saturdays, to flipping to Sunday is great. You flip to Sunday, your Monday recovery run now becomes a flex day, so you feel good. You still go out and do that run, just like was scheduled on a Monday, you're right back on track. Since you're now running Sunday, what happens Saturday? Full rest. If you have a long run, it's never worthwhile to go out and say, I'm going to do 3 miles or 5 miles that day before. You don't have to run if you're running your long run the following day. If you miss 2-3 runs due to an illness, due to travel, it's okay. It's not time to try to make them up. Do 1 run in the morning, 1 run in the evening. It's all right. You're going to put just a little X across it on your training, on the training schedule, or in your training log. You're just going to put missed run for whatever reason. You're right back on track. If you miss 4 runs in a row, 5 runs in a row, email us. Pull us aside at practice and let us know what's going on, and we'll rewrite it to get you back on track. Practices, all the coaches are there half hour before. So Saturdays, even if we're meeting at 7 o'clock for the long runs, if you show up at 6:30 with your life calendar, your training log, and your training plan, and say, hey, I'm going to New Zealand for the next 3 weeks, we'll change it to kilometers and write your next week plan.
And we'll go with you.
Oh, absolutely. So it happens to everyone. Just let us know, and we can definitely get you back on track. And the same thing with injuries. Especially overuse injuries will come up, and this will be addressed in the injury prevention clinic that we have in a few weeks. If you start to feel an injury come on, drop us an email. We can get you in touch with the right people or address it. General rule, though, is you feel something coming on, sharp pain on the outside of your knee, or ankle pain, bottom of your foot pain, rest. Try rest. You don't need to get that next run in. That extra 3 miles you're going to get in on that run, it's 3 miles more that you did, may set you back 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks. It's not worth it. Take that run off, let us know what's going on, and we can usually kind of get you back on track. To give you sort of an idea of what your mileage is looking like, total mileage on the beginner plan, 568 miles. Most people in this room are probably going to finish somewhere around the 420 to 440 mile range. So that's a mixture of those flex days where you're not feeling it, travel. It happens. You're still going to be ready for race day and ready to go. As Troy was talking about the shoes, with the training plan we're at, actually while he was talking, I went through and calculated. He was dead on. It's going to put you the last week in September. If you're following the intermediate or experience plan, it might be a week or 2 before that. And what you should do for your runs. As soon as you're ready to go for your run, you want to stretch a little bit before, in the sense of you want to get a little blood flowing through your muscles, you want to get ready to go, you don't want to just step out the door and start sprinting. We use what's called a dynamic stretch routine, and that's active stretching. It's not your gym class style stretching, where you're sitting on the floor with your leg warmers and arm warmers and kind of bouncing back and forth. It's active movement where you're isolating a joint at a time, you're doing movements like this, isolating knee joints. All of that is online. Go to YouTube, type in Team for Kids. You will see an amazing Team for Kids model who acts out every stretch that we do for the dynamic routine. You may recognize her as Gail.
Don't laugh.
But that dynamic routine you can do in about 2.5 minutes, just enough to get that blood flowing. Then you go out for your run. Once you're done running, your muscles are fully warmed up, you've got all your joints activated, then you can do a little more extensive stretching when you're done. That would also be your time that you'd be doing some foam rolling, that type of thing afterwards. If you're somebody who your long runs are going to start reaching over the 3.5 hour range, this is somebody who's running about a 14.5 to 15 minute mile pace, what you're going to do is when your long run reaches 3.5 hours, you're stopping. The next day, you're going to come out and you're going to do an extra half-hour run. Then if that happens on a second long run, you'll do the same thing, stop at 3.5 hours. Next day, you'll come out and do 45 minutes. And if it happens a third time, which would be your 20-miler, 3.5 hours on Saturday. Sunday, you come out and run an hour. Reason for that is we want the psychological benefit of that long mileage, but we also need to preserve your body for race day. What you're going to do is you're doing those back-to-back days. It's not the exact experience. Physiologically speaking, you're real close. And as kind of science changes, there's a lot of kind of movement towards that type of training. If you're running under about a 13.5 minute mile or faster, it doesn't affect you. Even your 20-21 miler are going to put you real close to that 3.5 to 4 hour range. Yes?
You're saying it's not advisable before race day to run more than 3.5 hours, right? Ish.
Ish, correct. The reason for that is there is a kind of limit of, physiologically speaking, how far you want to go before it starts causing more damage to your body than you're gaining. That number, depending on what you're reading and what physical system you're looking at, ranges anywhere from 16 miles to 23 miles. So that's why we take the beginners up to 20, also 20 psychologically speaking. If you can do 20, at that point on marathon day, you're heading back into Manhattan from the Bronx. Your only choice at that point to get home is to finish. So you're good to go. And so it's a matter of of balancing that. Physically speaking, you're going to get to the point with the long runs where right now the numbers seem daunting. 18 miles, 20 miles, I'm going to go run for 3.5 hours at a time. In reality, you look at the schedule week to week, you're going to run 10 minutes longer next week. That's it. And keep building on that as we build up through. If you'll notice our step back week, our let's get easier, let the body fully recover, our step back weeks become 13-mile runs. So, and for a lot of people, you'll see they show up to practice and they're like, I went out last night, I haven't been home yet. It's only 13 miles. So your body adapts quite quickly. And like I said, we've got 23 weeks, which is a fantastic amount of time that you'll come around. Yes?
Are there corresponding heart rate zones that correspond to the effort scale?
That would be individual to the runner, and that's something that you could definitely email us, and we can send you literature that you can kind of see where you fit. I will say, as a coaching staff, we tend to kind of veer away from heart rate monitors or external monitors and go more on feel. A lot of that becomes that sort of, if you're using the 1 to 10 effort scale, your 1, you should feel like, I could do this all day, I don't notice anything. Your 4 or 5 should be the, I could maintain this pace for almost the entire length of a long run. It's going to be a little work at the end, but I can maintain this. Your 7 should be definitely not doing 15 miles of this, but 6, 8 miles, fine. Your 8, 9 is going to be that, am I done yet? Am I done yet? Am I done yet? And the 10 is, I don't even realize I'm wearing a watch. I don't know what I'm doing. So kind of based on feel, you can get a sense of where you're at. And with that comes pacing. You'll notice it's hit and miss. What Troy was sort of saying with gear of kind of find what works. With like Body Glide, ultimately you're going to learn where you should have had it more than where you should put it. Just like Lauren said with nutrition, it's a little bit about trying it out, finding kind of where you fit on that hydration, how much you sweat. A lot of this is trial and error. Nice thing is, you've got a grand total of, I believe, 72 runs left to make mistakes. So if that means trying goos and gels, if that means being underhydrated, if that means, a few margaritas too many the night before, if that means running too late in the afternoon after a day of work, you've got time to figure all that out. And with that comes pacing. And you're going to have some runs that feel great, and you're going to have some runs that are awful. That awful run, write it down in your log and move on. Now, if you have an awful run for 6, 7 runs in a row, email us. And we'll ask for your training log and possibly your nutrition log, and then address it to the right people. But it's a little bit of a roller coaster, but that's what makes it fun. You don't know if you're going to come out on that Wednesday and just have the greatest workout. We actually had a runner last night who decided the group that he ran with couple previous days, I'm feeling good today, body's feeling good, and he just kind of went off and super, super comfortable and ran probably the most comfortable at the quickest pace he's ever done. And that was just a random Monday night. So it's a little hit and miss. Yes?
So if we can't make it to the Wednesday night runs, I mean, I know we just started and everything, but eventually are we going to get some sort of guide on like how to do the speed work?
Yes. So starting, we have not done any true quality workouts until tomorrow night, which is a time trial. And that was not included in the email this week, and that was my fault for not getting it put in time. But starting next week, you'll get a full explanation of how long the hill should be, what gradient it should be, how long it should take you to run up it, what you're doing to warm up, what you're doing to finish. And you'll get a full explanation for the Wednesday workouts. All right?
This is just, I was just going to ask what you said before about bad runs. I think one of the things that's really important is to know that, as well as having, my name's Simon.
Oh, sorry, this is Simon, one of the coaches as well.
But just to let you know that you're gonna, like, we're all going to have bad runs. Like, you know, you could look at Mo Farah or Matt or whatever, everyone has bad runs. and no bad run ever defines your training. Like you should never have one bad Wednesday and say, okay, that's it, I can't run the marathon, because it's just a bad Wednesday. And it may be that you drank one too many cups of coffee, or it may just be that it could be something very random. You had a bad night's sleep the night before. Like there's never one run that defines your training. I think that's really important. Lots of people think if I don't make the 20 mile or I don't do this certain thing or whatever, that defines your training, and it's never true. Because as long as you've always got to take the long view. All I've got to keep doing is keep showing up and keep trying to do the work, and you will get there. It's really important to sort of have that sense of long view and not ever think that this is it today. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
We all have our setbacks. In fact, Bill Rogers, who was one of our greatest marathoners ever, dropped out of his first marathon. Couldn't do it. And you'll find that with a lot of the elites. No one is born a marathoner. It takes a lot of timing, a lot of training, a lot of mistakes to get to that point. And they've all blown it over the years, but then out comes this amazing runner. So our experts will stick around for a while. We know it's late. We appreciate that you came out. We are going to be here every step of the way with you. We will be on the course with you. We're here for you 24/7. Email us. We want this to be the most amazing day of your life. And we're glad you chose us.
Thank you.
So thank you.